Hello everyone, my name is Hannah, and this video is brought to you by the Financial Wellness Office. This video is part 2 of our Affording Greek Life series, and consequently we have 2 interviews that are featured in this video, so stay tuned. I will have the times of both interviews in this. Feel free to watch the entire video or to skip around to different questions, skip around to the 2 different councils, 2 different people, just feel free to watch whatever you want to watch, and please enjoy the video.
My name is Lily Morrow. I am a senior and I am the president of Panhellenic.
Great. Can you talk a bit about why you joined your particular sorority versus other ones?
So with Panhellenic, we go through what's called a formal recruitment process, in which all of the potential new members go from house to house, essentially, kind of like you saw on TikTok this summer. It's a great reference point, actually. But basically, all of the potential new members go from house to house, and they get to talk with members of each sorority. I joined my house just purely because I had the best connection with them. I had the best conversation. It's kind of like it was like walking into a room where I felt very at home. When I was a freshman, I lived in the Beta House, and this was when a lot of the freshmen were still living on West Quad, so I lived in Beta, and I was very separated from a lot of the freshmen for the first part of my freshman year. So it was really nice to walk into a house where the conversation was nice. I felt very welcome. It was a warm environment. So that's really why I joined my house.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
And then can you talk a bit about what makes PHC special?
So Panhellenic was founded based on its goals of furthering women in society, but it's really stepped beyond that now to become more gender inclusive, really more inclusive in general. So I think that that's one thing that sets Panhellenic apart is it's really striving to keep up with society in, you know, like moving forward, becoming a more inclusive, a more supportive environment. So I'd say that that's one thing that sets Panhellenic apart from other councils. Another thing that I just personally like about Panhellenic, but I think that all of the councils have, is the connections that you make not only within your own house, but with members of other houses. Like I have been, this is really random actually, but I was with my cousin who's from Chicago, and I was at a dinner with her, and I met one of my aunt's friends, and she asked what house I was in, and when I said Kappa, she immediately like did the Kappa greeting with me, and
Oh,
I was like, "Hi," like, "Great to meet you."
that's so
Um,
sweet. Yeah.
so you get to make connections with people who you don't even know. And that just, it's so nice to walk into like a business meeting, or I'm pre-med, so I walked into a hospital and like
Mm.
you have some friendly faces, and that just makes you so much more likely to excel, so much more comfortable. And I think in this day and age, that's really key.
Yes, that is very important. You can never go wrong with that.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any myths around Greek life affordability that you would like to dispel?
So there are a couple. One myth that I would like to dispel is that you need to be wealthy to participate in Greek life. As great as social media is, I feel like it's kind of created this image around Greek life
Mm.
and the Panhellenic Council that, you know, it's like the clubs of the super elite, super wealthy, and that's really just not true. Every house has I would say, like a diverse um, background of its members with wealth, growing up, where you're from, all of that. And every house really works to make sure that everyone is equal within the houses. So, for example, houses can create payment plans with the dues. So, every semester, members pay dues to be a part of the house, and you can go on what's called a payment plan. So instead of paying, the total amount right up front, you can kind of do it like a credit card, if that makes
Okay.
sense. So like you
Yeah.
can pay X amount over the 4 months that I believe a semester is, and that just kind of separates it out. So, as you work and make money, you can then pay your dues. Another Also, houses tend to have scholarships for both need-based and merit-based.
Mm.
So Denison is very rigorous, and I feel like everyone works very hard, and their grades often show that. Especially within Panhill, we have a very high GPA. So organizations love to reward their members with scholarships towards their dues, etc. They also have need-based scholarships. And then the other thing that I'd like to really dispel is that one house on campus is more expensive than another house.
Mhm.
That's really not true. I don't know where that came from. Um, I would say that every house costs about the same in terms of dues.
Great, thank you. Yeah, no, that was really good to hear about the merit and need-based scholarships.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really nice because it allows for people from all backgrounds to come together. That's part of the reason why Greek life is awesome, is you get to meet people from different walks of life, and
Definitely.
that just makes it more accessible for everyone.
I agree. Could you give an example of like what the average like rush or pledge fee is?
So with Panhill, to sign up for formal recruitment, I believe it's $30. And that's really just for like, you get your t-shirt. So every new member gets a t-shirt for recruitment. Um, and I'm and then also like a computer system that we use. So that's it. And then post recruitment.
Mhm.
So I think that every house it is a bit different. But I can't give an exact number on that just because I don't know off the top of my head.
Mhm.
I will say that the first semester that you join an organization, your dues are a bit higher.
Mhm.
So say I would believe that most houses currently have dues between $600 and $700 a semester.
Great.
So the dues might be a little above that your first semester, just because with new members, there's new member education events like bonfires
Mm.
and movie nights and stuff like that. So the house needs to um, pay for those. So that's one thing. And then, yeah, so generally, like the first semester is a little more expensive, and then it like plateaus or goes down and then plateaus.
Great. Thank you.
Mhm.
You kind of mentioned this with like the bonfires and then also like meeting members all over the place. Do you have a favorite memory from your time in your organization?
There are a couple. So I would say one of my favorite memories was, or I guess one of my favorite experiences that I've had was just with my big. Um, she's been incredibly influential in my life. One thing that we did with my house is like we filled out a form for like what you want in a big.
Oh,
And I mentioned that I started my year at beta or in beta. So I was like, I really want a really close friend, and that is exactly what I got.
that's great.
um, my sophomore year, we would get lunch together in Curtis, and then we would do homework together afterwards. And I mean, she's graduated now.
Mhm.
And I will still randomly FaceTime her when I'm
Oh,
walking a dog and bored. So I would say like that's one thing that's one of my fondest memories. Another one is just kind of how it's worked out. I've always, or for the past couple of years, I've lived with pretty much all Kappas. So last year during Anchor Splash, a few of my roommates and sisters were actually in quarantine because of COVID. Um, so we virtually participated in Anchor Splash together and like choreographed a dance while
oh,
we were all in quarantine. Um, so that was really fun because it was just like us goofing around. I'm pretty sure I like fell over in one of the takes, but that's just me.
That's
Um,
pretty special. Yeah, I don't think
yeah,
I've ever heard a story like that before. That's
I
great.
I know. So sororities aren't all what you see on social media. It's also bonfires, it's studying and getting lunch with your big, and it is falling over while trying to participate in philanthropy events. I mean, I'm
That
not the
should
most coordinated
that
human
should be the new
being.
slogan for marketing.
Yes, it absolutely should be. Join a house and fall over while you're learning to dance.
Exactly, exactly. Do you have like a, I guess, a favorite like philanthropic cause that your organization in particular supports?
Um, well, this one might be a little biased because I'm very much an animal person,
Mhm.
but my house used to work with the animal shelter, the Humane Society around here.
Oh,
And so we would go walk dogs. Obviously, that was kind of, stopped because of COVID, but I'm hoping they bring it back. Um, but in general, I would say that I really, really enjoy that the houses have a diverse group of philanthropic organizations that they're involved with. So they have obviously like their national philanthropy,
mhm.
excuse me. And then they'll have local ones. So like Kappa was a humane society. And yeah, so it kind of gets you involved in the community because Denison it can be a bit closed off. So it opens your eyes to what's going on around you.
Very true. That's very important. Are there any important life lessons or takeaways that you feel like you've gained just kind of as a result of being a part of Kappa?
I would say, hmm, I would say one life lesson that I've gained through being in Kappa. I don't know if it's necessarily just through Kappa, but
Mhm.
it's opened my eyes through Kappa is you never really know who like is a friend of a friend, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I have met so many people just by saying that I'm a Kappa. I have, for example, I really want to work in neurodegenerative diseases. Um, I was just talking to a Kappa alumni who lives in the area, and she's like, "That's so interesting. One of my friends actually works in that field. Let me give you her number."
Wow, small world.
Very small world. But even just on campus, like I'll be talking to someone in the Slater line and they'll be like, "Oh, are you in Kappa?" And I'll be like, "Yes, I am." And they'll be like, "Oh my God, do you know such and or like so and so?" I'll be like,
Mhm.
"Yes, I do. I was actually sitting next to them last night in chapter."
Love that.
So, yeah, you never know, especially on this like tiny, tiny campus, you never know who knows, I guess, who you're standing next to, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that's a good takeaway.
Hmm.
Students who are thinking about Greek life in general, and then in particular, I guess rushing, going through the PHC rush process, is there anything that you think you'd like to tell them?
I would say that it's totally understandable to be nervous as you're going through. I know I was saying that I felt this warm, fuzzy feeling in Kappa, which I did, but don't let me fool you. I was sweating going through. I was a little nervous, and everyone is. Even though it's freezing outside, you're like, "Oh my gosh, like I wonder how my conversations are going to go." Like,
Yeah.
I wonder if I'll mesh well with this house. Which 9 times out of 10 you do. Um and that is awesome. But I would say don't sweat it because having been on, I guess now all sides of recruitment, having been an active, talking to potential new members, and now
Mm.
I'm on more of the, I don't know, coordination side of recruitment, however you want to say it. Um, a lot of work goes into it, and it is pretty fail proof. So I would say just try and be yourself. Um, I would say be yourself and be as open to connecting with them as you can be. And it is totally understandable to be nervous, have butterflies in your stomach, but enjoy the rush process or the recruitment process for what it is and take a breath and I don't know, just try and form connections with the girls because, or sorry, the members because you never know who you're going to meet and who's going to know who, and then who's going to be in your class the next day, because that
Very
has also
true.
happened to me.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So, yeah, just go in with a smile on your face if you can. If not, we totally understand if you're nervous, because we were too.
That is great advice. Yeah, I feel like Greek life is kind of one of those things that people have a certain perception of or gets hyped up in their head,
Mhm.
from watching movies and reading books. And so then to go
Mhm.
through the process, I know my roommate went through the process and she was stressed. And then
Yep.
she went in with an open heart, open mind, and had a great time
Yep.
and really made those connections. So I love that
Mhm.
you said that.
And I mean, the members in each sorority, it's kind of like a hat. You know how you can wear different hats? It's like, yes, I am a member of Panhellenic, I'm a member of Kappa, I am also a member of AED. I do this, I do that. So being in a sorority isn't like the be all end all of someone.
Yes.
And so, you might see that person later. And you can connect with them on so many different levels. So yes, going in with like an open heart, open eyes to every house is so, so key.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all my questions, but is there anything else that you think that you would like to address or that you want to say now?
I would just say that every house is so excited to meet all of their potential new members. And so I would just say, like, everyone can't wait to meet the new members.
Sweet.
And also, if any or when people are watching this, I'm assuming people will be watching this,
Mhm.
always feel free to reach out to Panhellenic with any questions. There will be upcoming information sessions and cider and sororities, which is like an event where all the houses in Panhellenic, we will be present. So if
Mm.
you want to just come talk to us, chat with us, I guess see who we are, and we're not just like these letters, these daunting things. We're just normal human beings. We'd love to see you.
It's a great invitation. Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Great.
And if you have,
So my name is Jorge Ramirez, and I'm a brother of Phi Iota Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I'm the president of the Beta Zeta chapter here at Denison, and we are the oldest Latino fraternity in existence. And basically, on campus, we just aim to provide quality social educational programming. And one of our main goals is Pan Americanism, which basically is the inclusion of all. So that's a little bit about us.
Great. Thank you. Could you talk a bit more about why you joined your fraternity?
Yeah, so I joined um, my fraternity because I wanted to find my place on campus. So coming to Denison all the way from California, I wanted to find a home away from home. And so I joined different student organizations in my first year, but they didn't feel like a home away from home. And so I felt like I had no place on campus. And I first learned about Phi Iota Alpha Fraternity Incorporated and multicultural Greek life in general at the end of my freshman year. And I became interested in the fraternity after because I didn't know Latino fraternities existed.
Mm.
And after learning more about the fraternity and seeing the bonds that the brothers had, I became really interested. And once I officially met all of the brothers, I decided to join, and now I'm very proud to be a brother.
That's great. If you don't mind, could you also talk a bit more about like it being a Latino like fraternity?
Yeah. What really interested me was like seeing other people who had the same background as me, and also seeing them as leaders on campus and seeing the way they carry themselves. And so that's what really attracted me, like seeing who people who are now my older brothers, just how they carry themselves, the positions they had on campus. That's what really drew me to the organization.
Okay, great. That was good. So you kind
Just pros and cons of Greek life.
of. Mhm.
I would say pros, you make a lot of close relationships. So we're a very small chapter right now. We're at only 8 brothers. And so you make a lot of close relationships with people in your organization. Another pro, I would say, because we are so small, and once you become a brother and you have to like help run the chapter, you get a lot of leadership experience. So before I joined, I never had experience with like putting up events, collaborating with other organizations, other student leaders or faculty and staff to put things together. But since then, I've gotten a lot of experience with that, and also not only like supporting events, but now it's present like facilitating, leading events, managing my chapter. So I gained a lot of leadership skills through it. Um, in terms of cons, I can't really think of any. I would just say one con is like it's hard to sort of get to know the entire Greek community. So me personally, it's hard for me, or it's been hard for me to sort of reach out or make connections outside of my council. So that's one con I would say.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Mhm.
And then you mentioned kind of like leadership opportunities of like event planning and like networking. So I guess another question would be, what do you think is like the greatest like life lesson or like skill that you've garnered, like aside from those two skills?
I would say the greatest skill would be communication. Um, Yeah, and it comes like at all levels, like even within the organization, when working with people outside the organization, like in order to be successful, for things to run smoothly, like if I'm putting up an event and one of my brothers is organizing it, but I'm like overseeing it, then I need to be in constant communication with him. And if we're collaborating with an organization, I need to be in constant collaboration with that like point person in the other organization. And yeah, and then sometimes when we don't communicate, things don't go as planned, or they're like misunderstandings. So that's what I would say is like the most important
Great, yeah.
takeaway.
That's a good takeaway. Do you have a favorite memory?
A favorite memory? Um, I would say last spring. So in multicultural Greek life, usually when people are joining their organizations, it's a secret, so nobody knows until they finally join the organization, and they have a new member presentation at the end of the semester. And last spring, I was an educator for our new members. We brought in 5 members into our organization last spring, which is the most we've ever brought ever in the history of our chapter.
Wow.
So being at their new member presentation and seeing them, have a good show and everybody cheering them on, that was a very proud moment for me.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What else? Oh yeah, so I guess, are there any myths around like Greek life affordability that you think you'd like to dispel or like address?
Yeah, one thing I'll say is that Greek life is not unaffordable, so don't be afraid to join Greek life just because of money. And I would say that's based on my experience in my organization and my council. And that's not to say that people don't have trouble affording Greek life, but if you do, just know that there are resources out there. So, for example, my fraternity, um, it offers a merit scholarship every year, so that's one plus. And then they also offer waivers every semester if brothers have trouble paying their semester dues.
Great, thank you. You actually you answered my follow-up question, so that's great. I guess this is another one. So, is there like a rush or pledge fee?
Yeah, so for candidates, for those who want to become brothers and pursue intake, the application fee is 300. And usually if people are interested in becoming brothers, we let them know ahead of time that there is a $300 non-refundable fee. But usually if they can't pay it for whatever reason, because it is a big number, we'll offer to help them pay it. So like we can help pay a portion of it or all of it, and then they can always repay it later.
Great. And then could you kind of speak a bit about, I guess, like the average monthly or like yearly doer fee?
Yeah, so for Phi Iota Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, once you become a brother, you pay $165 a semester in dues. And then for our council, the Multicultural Greek Council, semesterly dues can range from $5 to $10. And then in terms of fees, if you have an unexcused absence from a council meeting, your organization can get fined $3. And then if you're late, your organization can get fined $2.
Great. Okay. Thank you. So this is kind of another one regarding money. Is there like an amount that you recommend that people kind of set aside or start like budgeting for if they're really interested?
Yeah, so usually when people are interested in my organization, we tell them to set aside the $300 ahead of time if they want to pursue intake. And then usually when our candidates become brothers, we tell them to set aside $165 in dues.
Okay, great. So then another question. So I guess, what do you think makes, I guess, the MGC Council and your particular fraternity like unique and special? Or I guess more so your council, because you spoke a bit more about, your particular fraternity earlier.
Yeah, so I would say one thing that makes our council unique is that we're very small. And being small isn't a bad thing. It just means that we know each other a lot better, and we get to develop like a lot of strong, close relationships, not only like within our respective organizations, like as I mentioned earlier, but with other organizations as well. So once you join, you get to meet other people, older people or people the same age as you, and you sort of get to know them throughout the rest of your Denison career. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Is there anything, like any events coming up that you could possibly share that people should be on the lookout for if it's not like top secret?
Yeah, one thing I'll share is this Friday, our fraternity, we will be hosting our second annual Hear Our Voices art gallery. So the grand opening will be this Friday from 6:30 to 7:30 on the third floor of Slater. And basically, we're trying to promote the voices of artists of color. So come and support and see the work of artists of color. And then on the 30th, we'll be doing a fundraiser for our Philanthropy, which is the National Hispanic Institute. And basically, we'll be serving food. And that's on October 30th. And we'll be tabling for that event from October 25th to the 29th. And then our last event this month will be on Halloween. We'll be collaborating with Sigma Lambda Gamma National Sorority Incorporated and the Denison Asian Student Union for pumpkin carving. So that'll be a fun one.
That's great. Could you also talk a bit more about like philanthropy and if your fraternity has a particular like cause that they focus on?
Yeah, so our fraternity, since we are a Latino fraternity, our philanthropies have typically been like Latino focused. So our old philanthropy was UNICEF, but now we transitioned to National Hispanic Institute, which basically all the funds that we raise go to them, and their goal basically is to provide post-secondary resources to Latino youth.
That's great. Like another like favorite tradition.
Favorite tradition? Oh, one of my favorite traditions is every spring we have a fundraiser called Pi Fiota, and it's basically we raise funds again for philanthropy, but it's like an event where people pie us in the face with shaving cream, and so like it's we raise a lot of money, but it's also very popular and a lot of fun. So that's my favorite thing
That's
for
great.
sure.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
That you feel like you would like to say that you wish that you had known or that you think that people should know?
I would say just don't be afraid of Greek life, or if you have negative stigma of Greek life, don't let it like determine your experience here at Denison, because before I became interested in my fraternity and learned about multicultural Greek life, I always had the stigma of Greek life in my head, like about, oh, it's only about partying, drinking, doing drugs. But once like I learned about the organizations here on campus, that's when like um, that stigma sort of went away. And so I would say just be open, have an open mind. I'm not saying try it out, but just like have an open mind. Yeah.
No, that's really good advice for anything really. Great. Well, those are all of my questions. So thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.